Everything is possible. Your dream is possible. It doesn't matter what people have said, it is possible.
You always have a choice. We always have a choice. There are going to be people that fit into a number one, and there are people that are going to fit into a number two.
Welcome to the MoneyFitMD show. I'm Dr. Latifat, the founder of MoneyFitMD.
We want to change the narrative
where women physicians use.
My job is to let you know that's going to be.
I have to surround myself with people that are doing crazy.
I love it. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. If you want to just say hi in the chat box, hello. Where are you joining us from? Welcome. Welcome to day one of our Power to Choose book launch event. Guys, I am so excited for you to be part of this. I'm so honored that you come in to spend time with us. But more than that, I just want to say that I celebrate every single one of you guys that is taking time from whatever life is doing and choosing to be here. I want to just celebrate you already, El Grove, for being here today. This event that we're having and we're starting today is all about you. It is all about you. It is all about your power. It's all about who you are. And it is truly an honor that we get to hold this space together today. So as you guys know, this is a 3-day event. So we're getting started today. And of course, we have to start it the right way. We're dancing because we're done with the nonsense that money has to be boring, that it has to look one way. That's why most of us are not doing it, right? And by the way, for those that haven't met me, I'm Dr. Latifat. I'm the host of this party. I am a physician, a practicing physician, which I'm so grateful for. I'm mama of 3 little ladies and author of Done with Broke, which is celebrating its 2-year anniversary tomorrow, but also author of a new book that's going to be officially out tomorrow, Power to Choose. I am so excited that I get to spend tomorrow and today with you. So what this entire week is going to be about, it's about you learning, it's about you growing, but it's also about you being inspired by women physicians just like yourself. I remember when my own personal journey started with money, it was hard. It was hard not because I was not smart, but it was hard because I could not relate with anybody. I saw people that were talking about money that didn't look like me, that didn't sound like me, that didn't sound like they cared about humans, to be honest with you. And I was like, I don't want a piece of that, right? But then I also had this idea that I was going to practice medicine for a very long time, which I still plan to do. But I wanted to be able to do it on my own terms so that I can be the kind of physician that can practice medicine with authenticity. However, there was what I wanted, but also it looked different from what I was seeing. And so my own personal journey to financial liberation is something that I will talk about tomorrow. And but for today, there are some people that we're going to bring here. It's going to be a panel discussion. And I'm excited that they've volunteered to say yes to being here. And the goal for this time is for you to learn from their story, to hear, and whatever is dropping for you, whatever is landing for you to understand that it is not too late. You are not uniquely screwed. You're not unique enough to be uniquely screwed, right? And so what I'm hoping is that you can hear the stories and you can be inspired by it. These are imperfect women. In fact, one of them was like, I don't know if I want to be a part of this. And I was like, you know what? You are perfect for this, because it's not a matter of like having a perfect life. It's about true stories, real stories of women just like you and I, and how they've gone from a life of being trapped to now choosing to live a life of liberation. So without further ado, let's go ahead and just introduce yourself. Who are you? What do you do? And tell us something when your journey to financial liberation actually started.
Hello, everybody. I am an academic physician in Durham, North Carolina, and I had my financial journey started a long time ago, even when I didn't realize it. But more recently, I met Latifat when she came and gave a talk at some ACP event, and I was like, who is this person who's talking about money without slides? Like, who is she? And that's what started my journey. And it's been an exciting and very roller coaster journey, as you see. With the beginning, I'm like, what am I doing? What are we doing? But it's really cool and fun. And I think that's all I have to say for now. Was there any? Yeah.
That's good. Who are you? Where are you from?
And how long or when did your journey to financial liberation get into your awareness that that was even a thing?
Well, hi. I'm a practicing family medicine physician. Um, I am from Dominican Republic originally. The question of where you're from is always complicated. That's where I'm originally from. And I live in Orlando now, but I train in New York. So I guess I'm from a lot of places. My journey started when I was actually being when I was first learn about coaching through like burnout coaching, and Dr. Latifat was a guest coach, and then she was talking about money and how it was tied to burn. I'm like, I don't even know why we're talking about money. What is this? Like, what? How is this tied to? And then I was like, how come I didn't know any of this? I need to learn more. And that was 2 years and a half ago. So incredible how fast time goes.
Fantastic. Thank you. What about you?
I am from Granville, Ohio, and I'm a pediatric hospitalist and academic leader, researcher. Not sure. I wear a lot of hats now. Um, and I met Latifat in Spanish school in Guatemala a really long time ago. And I was trying to learn more about financial wellness. And in 2022, she was sort of growing the coaching group. And that's when I joined.
So thank you guys for introducing yourself. So my next question for you, and since you have the mic, you can continue on there. Before this, like, what was life like for you in terms of like, what was life on a day-to-day basis like for you before you started this journey? Because there are people that are in here that may be there, and it will be interesting to hear what life was like for you before this whole journey of you figuring out your finances and deciding to own your life in all the ways you do own it now.
Yeah. So I'm going to be a little vulnerable here. I would use the word fearful. And that would have been my life in general. And I did have fear around taking care of my own finances. I had somehow convinced myself that I didn't know how to manage finances. And I was in an unhappy marriage and because of that, didn't feel like I was thriving in my career. I didn't feel like I was thriving as a mom. And so I kind of hit that point where um, the fear of moving forward becomes less than the discomfort of sitting where you're at. And that is about the time when I contacted Latifat and said, I need some guidance here because this is gonna be a big transition and I know it, and it's gonna be a rough one. And it was. But now I was just reflecting, and I think this may be the first time in my life where I live in a home that I would say is peaceful, beautiful, and I love to come home, and so do my kids. They always talk about, they're like, Mom, the vibe here is good. And so I feel so proud of that. And then everything, and because I feel at home, and safe and peaceful in my home, then everything else becomes easier, including being brave and taking some risks around opening businesses and leading studies and all kind of stuff that I never thought I would do simultaneously.
So let me understand, because I want to go back to that moment for you, because there may be people in the audience right now that are listening to you and maybe where you were. So you were in a place and then you decided that something had to change, or was it going to change anyway?
It had to change. It had to change, or I don't know. I don't know what would have happened, you know? Uh, um, but yeah, I think it had to change.
Were you in that situation for a long time? Did you feel trapped before you realized that it had to change? Or was it like, oh, you know what? This has to change and I'm changing and just easy?
No, I was there for a long time. And I think that I feel like sometimes the universe gives you enough things where you're like, all right, like how many more things are gonna pile on before I say enough is enough, and go ahead and take that leap. And that's what happened to me. Fortunately, I was smart enough to know that I would need to gather a great group of people behind me. And this particular group has been absolutely instrumental in allowing me to grow into the person that I am today.
You have kids, correct?
I have two. I have a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old.
Did having them make it easier or harder for you to decide that you were going to, something had to change?
They became my reason before I could choose myself.
Wow. Okay. I wasn't expecting that. They became my reason. Okay. Thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
Let's go to you since you're the next one on my screen. So tell us about your journey and what was happening in your life and what made you decide that something had to change or not.
Well, when I decided to learn more about money, I was in a deep burnout, and I didn't realize how much um not having financial freedom was contributing to that, because um although I could recognize that I was working in a toxic job, I didn't think that I had choice. So I felt like I was stuck in my job, and I feel like if I don't have a job, then I don't have an income, but I'm miserable here. And so my burnout had like a lot of pieces, but that was like the main thing. And like I was not only like I was like fearful of talking about money, like I was convinced that I didn't know. It was like, just let the boys talk, right? I felt like I I was intimidated. That's the word I always use. Like I was intimidated about numbers and like having the money conversation. And so um like it was just a whole different world that I didn't know how much I didn't know. And that's just basically where I was. And then the moment that I decided that something had to change was in the process of recovering from my burnout or taking action from that. Was one, after I realized that I was being underpaid, um, I started negotiating my contract with my employer at the time. And they had scheduled me for, after 6 months of back and forth, ignoring my emails because they didn't want to have the conversation, right? I showed them all my, data showing that I was underpaid. Also, they were paying my male colleagues 25K more than me, although we're like the same salary and everything. After 6 months of trying to get this conversation, they finally agreed to meet with me, and it was a virtual one. My son was sick, and to make the story short, I was debating, should I take him school or drop him off or what to do. He was in my car, and I was like, I need this meeting. And sure enough, 10 minutes before the meeting, he threw up in the car. And the stress that I had to make it to this meeting, because I needed to make a change, just, sparked this mama bear energy. And I said, I can't do this anymore. I want to have the freedom of just not coming to work if my son is sick. Just be there for my family with no guilt. I just can't be, I felt like I was just trapped, and this has to change. So that gave me the energy that I was missing for that meeting, that I had that day with my leadership.
So I know that a lot of people are resonating with what you're sharing right now. And I'm curious to know, like, what was it that made it hard for you to choose family?
Guilt. So, like at home, yeah, it was guilt, because if I I always feel like if my son is sick and then I have to show up to work, or like if I have to stay home to take care of them, I'm canceling like a lot of patients and they have to reschedule and all the drama or the passive aggressiveness from, the staff and then the leadership and then even the patients, your boss, like it's all the aftermath after you do that because you're taking care of your family. And so it's not like I put them on top of it. I just feel like, you know, either way I was failing.
Mm. I think it's interesting you said something, and thanks, Marion, for putting that in the chat box. You said in burnout, recovering from burnout and taking action. You were very specific about adding and taking action. Was it that you were not taking action, or was it that you were not taking the right actions? Like, why did you separate those two things?
Well, because part of my burnout had like different pieces, right? And when I learn all the things that contributed to my burnout, one part is how broken the healthcare system is. And the other part is deciding to take action or first finding out all the ways in which I had agency and I had the power to change things for myself. Not necessarily changing the system, right? Because it's not on one person to do it. But there are a lot of places where we have power and we may or we may not know that, but then when you know there's something it's off. In my case, after I learned that I was underpaid, I didn't know how to look my patients, in the eye and say, I'm being deeply undervalued here. Like, how can I just do my job without feeling like trash? And so I just can't bear with that weight. I just can't keep seeing patients like that. I need to make decisions. And so if I just keep going pretending that this is okay, or just, in medicine, we have this learned helplessness where we think that, something is wrong. We just keep going with the flow. It's easier, but then you still feeling the same. In my case, I had to decide to take the actions that I know that I needed to take to make changes to feel better, in addition to the other stuff. But the part where I feel like deciding to take the action, has been for me what really shift everything in my burnout recovery.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. Dr. T, as you're drinking water. So do you want to tell us, for you, what was that? What was life like before you even knew that financial freedom or liberation or this space that you're in was an option for you? What was life like, and what caused the change for you? Because there are so many people that may be around here that are listening to this or catching the replay and maybe in your shoes, especially as an academic physician.
Yes, I was in the space of a lot of anger and feeling powerless, even though at the time I didn't know I was feeling powerless. Similar to found out that I was underpaid. I was so mad. I was so mad because when I started my academic job, and they told me my starting salary, I started crying because I was like, oh my gosh, did I do all this fellowship and do all this stuff to get this salary? And then fast forward a few years later to find out I was one of the lowest paid people in my group. I was so angry because when we first started, we made a move from another state. And so my spouse has lost his job in the transition. And we were like, trying to make ends meet. And so every month we went into debt because I wasn't earning enough. And I just thought, oh, this is academia. Everybody gets paid a low amount. And everybody would say, oh, this is academia. This is how everybody gets paid. And then to find out a few years later that, this academia has graduations of how people get paid. I was so angry. And also powerless too, because the only way I knew was to go and knock on doors and say, why am I the lowest paid? What's going on? And I was also one of those people who, I don't want to say I'm a recovering people pleaser. I'm done with people pleasing. But I also didn't want to make anybody mad. So I would go and have conversations and people would be like, but there's not enough money. There's just not enough money. And I'd be like, oh, but what can we do? And they're like, we're trying so hard. And I just wouldn't have anything to say because, I needed to validate that they were trying so hard. I was so mad. So what, in coming to this space was really owning my agency and just taking the power back and being like, okay, you do what you need to do. And this is what I'm going to do. And so, yeah, a lot of anger and feeling powerless.
So let me ask you, when you think back to that moment and when you think back to now, when it comes to your feeling in regards to choice or no choice, how do you feel relative to where you were before?
I feel like, you know how we started and we're all dancing and it's like, okay, this looks crazy. What are you doing? That's how I feel right now. I had a conversation earlier today where I was told that I owed money and I was like, okay, how much do I owe you? I mean, literally, I was like, oh, okay, I owe you money. Great. Okay. Thanks for letting me know. And I started laughing in the conversation. That's not me. I would never be there. I would like upset and crying and like, oh my gosh, how could this be? But now in my mind, I'm like, you know what? Yeah. Yeah. 10 years ago, you were short of money. And now you're short of money. You're always short of money. Like, that's not my problem. Do you? But like to even have that confidence, I'm like, but where is that? I mean, like I've changed and it's been part of this community, just seeing people do amazing things here. I mean, at the time that I joined Latifat, it was like gallivanting around the globe. You know, it's like, who does that? And so it's just realizing that, wow, there are other options. And then doing the math and realizing that these are the things I love about being here in the academic space, and these are the things I don't love. And so I'm going to optimize for the things I love. And that's just bold. And sometimes I'm like, what are you doing? Like, are you supposed to be this bold? But that's where I am now.
Okay, so bold seems to be your word. And I love your laughter, by the way. I think you should have a radio show, even though people don't do radios anymore. But I'd love to hear your voice every morning. But I want to ask you, so going to that point versus now, what would you say is one thing that you did to help you get unstuck, untrapped, or whatever word you want to call it, that the audience can take away from you today? What is one thing?
To be honest, I think a lot of it, coaching has been a big part of my transformation. Being part of this community has been a big part of my transformation. Seeing other people win and do things differently, it has just made me realize, oh my gosh, there's so many options. I don't have to do what's set before me. And so yeah, I think that's been the big thing. It's just, okay, there are other options. I don't have to do it this way. Because this way doesn't work for me. I don't have to do it this way. So yeah, just the people I've been around.
I'm going to ask you one more question because I do think it follows the conversation we're having right now. I love that you're talking about bold, the people you're around, the community you're in, the actions you're taking. Is there still fear in that direction? You're still here coming along that way. Can you guys see why I love her laughter? If there is, how do you move through it?
No, it's funny. I think a lot of my I was always afraid of making someone mad. I was always afraid that people would be mad at me. And now I stopped. I think I stopped asking people to validate me. I stopped asking people to tell me who I am. And because of that, it no longer matters what they think. So it's interesting. I think that some of my boldness is like, why are you so fearless? I think it's just that I don't know. The equation has changed. And because the equation has changed, it no longer depends on other people. And I feel that power of like how much I can do, how much agency I have, which I didn't have before. So it's interesting, you know? I mean, honestly, at this point, I'm like, okay, well, apparently I owe money. What am I going to do about that? I know it all works out. I just do. And it's like, okay, what's my next step? But there isn't fear. And I think it's because in the past there was only one option. And if that option went away, I was stuck. But now I realize that there are many options. And the question is, what's the next best option? And so, yeah, that's been very powerful and very liberating. Yeah.
If, say, 3 years ago, this you owe something came up, would your reaction, like, how would your reactions have been different? Number one. And why is your reaction, like, what tool have you used? What thought? What is the secret behind it that's making you less afraid of, that's making you believe that you can work it out? What changed? Because that's a unit, that's not, unfortunately, not a lot of women physicians have that. And that's part of the leaning into that power to choose.
Yeah, thank you for asking that. I mean, I was actually just reflecting as I was talking to my husband earlier today that this is the space I was in 3 years ago, which was kind of my first big major financial shift at work, where I literally was like, I quit. I'm done with all this mess. And then they were like, oh, no, no, come back. Let's renegotiate your salary and all of that. Right. And I kind of like added $100,000 to my salary just in that negotiation. Um, so it feels like that space where it's so turbulent. There's so much happening at the same time. I'm like all these people talking to each other because I was telling Latifat earlier, then the fridge broke down and then the HVAC needs everything is happening all at once, right? But so it feels like the same space, but it's different. Then I was so afraid. Then I was crying all the time. And now it's just like, okay, I've been here before, but now I'm a different person. And I think it's just all the work we've done over time of just expanding possibilities of seeing I mean, it's been a pleasure to be here in this space and you traveling all over the world and, working a couple of days a month where it's like, but people are doing this, why can't I? Why is there only one way? And so I think just really the boldness and the courage of other people has allowed me to be bold and courageous as well. And the options I see in front of me and all the things people are doing helps me see that I can do different things too. And to be honest, I did the math. I came out of many of the conversations we've had in this community, but I did the math. And I asked myself, is this academic career still the vehicle for me? Because now I started to think about the vehicle for my financial freedom because I want financial freedom. I don't want to wait 40 more years to get it. And I was like, is this the vehicle for me? And I came to I did the math and I realized that this is not my financial vehicle. It's my academic vehicle because I love the impact of my academic work. I still want to keep that, but I don't want the financial piece because it's holding me back. And part of it was that we lost W-2 income. And so now I realize that not being underpaid is a problem. Like it was masked. It was masked because it was like, well, my husband's making up for all the shortfall. And now then it's like, wait a minute, I'm not getting paid enough. This is a problem. I should be able to support my entire family. But I've done the math and I realized that I've got to separate the financial from the academic benefit. And that's my guiding principle. That's why when they're like, oh, you owe us money, I'm like, fine, give me the options. Tell me all the things that I need to do. I need very clear what the options are. And my chief is like, I'm traveling. I'm like, okay, when you're back next Thursday, can we have the meeting? And he's like, I'll get it to you Sunday. I'm like, good, because I don't know. And until you give me until you lay it before me, I don't know what my options are, and I get to choose. I love that, and I couldn't have done that 3 years ago. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm afraid to lose my job. I'm not afraid anymore because there's so many options. Yeah, I could go on, but I'll stop.
Not afraid to lose my job. There are so many options. I could go on. That is power. That is power right there. So thank you for sharing. You're next on my screen. Do you want to take the same question?
What was the question?
So the question that the initial, we ended up going down multiple layers of questions. So I'll go back to the beginning question, which was, what made you, I'll ask you this one. What made you decide that it was finally, if you were to look at the energy where you were 3 years ago versus where you are now, where were you then? Where are you now?
Energy wise, I was hopeless. I was stuck. I was convinced that I didn't have any options. And what you said resonates a lot because the most like empowering thing, like badass thought that I just kept, playing in my head is like, I can leave this job. I'm not tied to this job anymore. That's it. And so now it's like, I just feel free. I just feel like I can choose where I work, how I work. Like, it's not the end of the world. Like, I don't know why. Well, I do know why. But for me, it just felt like, oh my God, I need to keep this job because I need, the salary or whatever. Like, I felt like It was like my like accomplishment to get like the job, you know, the right job. But now it's like it's the opposite. They get to have me. Because one of the most powerful thing that I learned with you is my biggest asset is my brain. And I can just take my brain wherever I go. And I'm just bringing my asset to you. Do you want it? You don't want it? Will you value that? Because otherwise, I'm not staying. I don't care if I need to break a contract. I'm not staying. So I don't feel like I'm tied to any job at all.
Wow. Okay, so let's compare those two versions of you. Because again, there are people here that they're like, okay, but I have kids. I'm a family medicine doctor, Latina, like so many things that they're identifying with you on. But if you were to look at you 3 years or 2 years ago and now, what would you say a tangible thing you did or action that someone else here could take with them to apply that may be helpful for them on that journey to your own being untrapped?
So tangible actions to shift energy or to be where I am in terms of um like my job and my salary and
And
financial.
either one, whichever one you feel inclined to share with us.
I think it's I think it will be just more useful to share what the actions to that I take to shift the energy. And one was like really going out there and explore my options. Because keep repeating the story that I didn't have any options kept me stuck, not amplifying my options. Does that make sense? So it was like a loop that kept repeating on and on. And then, of course, I was reinforcing the thought that I don't have any options because it felt, I guess, it was just easier to do. And so, really looking for more jobs and like expanding the platforms, even like thinking outside of outpatient, because outpatient is what I do. But I'm a family doctor, and family medicine doctors can do locums. We can, be hospitalists. There's so many things that I, as a family medicine physician, can opt to do. And so I didn't have the mindset of exploring all the options like I did when I decided to look for jobs. The moment after that meeting, when my son threw up in the car, I said, I'm not staying here. I'm just going to leave. And so expanding my options outside what I had in the moment helped me shift the energy of, and I don't have any options and I'm stuck here.
What do you think stops more women physicians from doing that? Or maybe I should ask you, what do you think stopped you from doing that earlier before and I know you've talked publicly about your first burnout, your second burnout. What stopped you?
From expanding my options?
Yes.
I was really trapped in this learned helplessness. Like I didn't believe that I had options. Like when I said that I didn't know that I had options, like it was like a legit thing. Like I didn't think I have options. And it's crazy because it's like how now I think like why didn't like why wouldn't I? Like how? Like how would a doctor, a female physician think that, you know, she doesn't have any options? But that's where I was. I was so convinced that I didn't have a lot of options. So, it just kept me stuck there. I think it's just that learned helplessness that we learn in training, where the way that I see it is like, there's like this little story that my parents used to tell me, like this little elephant that was like in a small cage, well, in a big cage, but he was a small elephant. And every time he tried to leave, he couldn't go because it was just too big for him. And then every time he tried, he couldn't leave and he couldn't escape. But one day the elephant was big and all he had to do was just like do this. But he stopped trying because every time that he tried, he couldn't go. So that's how I describe the learned helplessness, because throughout the training, we see a lot of things happening. We see how the system is broken and we try, we knock doors, speak with program directors or whatever. And it's no, 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 no. By the time you become an attending, it's like, why would I even try? So sitting to complain about how broken the system is what we keep playing in the head and feel like we can just talk about it, but nothing. We can change it. Like the learned helplessness is the biggest challenge, the biggest thing that stopped me from changing my mindset.
So I'm going to go a little bit with that line, and feel free to to say no, I'll pass on this. So one of the things I don't talk a lot about is we talk about mental health, we talk about suicide, we talk about all this stuff, and I don't talk enough about the fact that that is one of the reasons why I do the work that I do, and that's why this book was so important for me to write because with people, yes, I talk about financial freedom, and that is definitely something that I want people to have, but that is something that people will think of if they're alive and have breathing room to even breathe. Right? So when you talk about the learned helplessness, and what people have told me is they feel like they were in a hole. I don't know if you ever had that experience, but if someone is in here right now, is there anything you want to share with them from your experience, or not even from your experience, of like the first rope to grab?
In terms of
Getting
learn,
out of that hopelessness.
say that again.
Getting out of that hopelessness.
Well, I think the first mindset shift that I had was just finding the places where I had power, where I could choose. So, for instance, the only thing that was stopping me, like, of course, I didn't know I was underpaid. I didn't know my male colleagues were getting paid way more than me, although we have the same training. We had the same training, right? The only thing that was stopping me from send emails and request a meeting to talk about this, to renegotiate my contract, was me and my fear of the criticism. They're gonna think I'm greedy, or I'm talking about money and all these things and all the stigma that women in general have when we are going to talk about money versus men. And so it was me who was holding me back from taking this action, from like having the conversation about my salary, like one small thing, right? So I just did it. I just felt like if it's just me stopping me from doing this, then I can just do it, right? Nobody's like really holding my hands to send the damn email, right? The concern about them judging me, criticizing me, it's also me here. So like in theory, like it's like, okay, let's just talk about it. Let's just like picture the monster. There's no monster, right? There's no lion. Okay, it's a messy closet. It's okay. Like the actual fear was like, oh, here. If they will criticize me, it's still here. Does that make sense? So it was just like, oh, okay. So I can just send the email and that's it.
Thank you for sharing that. And I love what Jillian, thanks for sharing that in the chat box. She said, seeing where we have agency, that we do have agency, just a glimpse of knowing we aren't trapped. A glimpse, that's all, a glimpse. And that is what was talking about too, like finding that place where you're like control, where you can choose. That's what saved me. That's what Dr. Jillian said. And mentors like Dr. Kim Nichols, who walked with me in the darkest of times, made me feel worthy of life. Thank you very much for sharing that. I appreciate you. Doctor, talk to us. What was it like if you were to think about the energy? I know you talked a little bit about that, but give us a little bit more contrast or similarities. But it sounds like there's a contrast between where you were 2 years ago when you decided versus now.
I think I would piggyback a little bit on the word bold, where and I don't know, maybe it's just my perception, but in pediatrics, we're like trained to be very well behaved. And in the Midwest too, it's like very well behaved. Like just stay, don't push too much. And I noticed I think that this community, watching other people succeed, watching other people take chances, and it doesn't always go exactly like you expect it's going to, but you start to have faith in your brain and you start to have faith in, I feel like there's the brain and there's the mind, like there's your brain, but then there's also your mindset. And so you can kind of borrow like silently borrow other people's mindset sometimes when you need to, and then mimic some of that and try it out in your own environment. And I will say I've done that. And one of the things that happened that I didn't expect recently, so I now I'm the site PI for a multi-center trial. And it's something that I applied for when I was starting this journey, and it did not go well in the beginning. I'll tell you, like there were some problems, probably because I was in a place where I'm like, I've never done this before. Like, I don't want to push anybody's buttons, whatever. And now I'm like, listen, like we got to get this done. And we had a site visit, and I sent an email to all of our C-suite leadership for to invite, and I put special invitation to our like national site visit. And they all came. The two people that weren't able to come were one was traveling on outside, like way outside of the state. And then the other person was leading a meeting so that the CMO could come to my meeting. And I was like, and we we had this presentation, and it was like not only did I do well, but I looked at like our research staff that I mentor and manage and my co-investigator that I mentor, and I was like, oh my God, in the last year she is so much more confident in her presentation. And I was like, I'm leading a group now that's inspirational. And because that's the words that everybody said after, like, this is so inspiring. And I think that came a lot from how this group operates, and that I feel very at home here. And I mean, I don't know, people know. I mean, we have all cried multiple times, but for sure I've cried multiple times. Like I cried about having to get a new car. you know, and which like the first world problems, right? But there was a lot of pain behind it. There was a lot of mindset shifting, and I'm like, I'm someone that is gonna just go buy a car, you know? Um, and so I think that, yeah, that boldness and you're like, well, this is what I'm doing. So, you're welcome to come along with me. I would love to collaborate with you, but this is what I'm doing.
I love it. So let me ask you this question, because you are a single mom.
I am.
And there may be single mamas in here in this group or that are watching right now, here live or replay, that are like, I want to be bold, but it's hard to be bold when I'm single. Any other single mamas out there? Okay, all right. Well, just don't raise your hand. Let us know in the chat box, because we love y'all. So some people may be going like, single mom, bold, scared, but my kids, how can I be bold? How can I risk it? Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. So I have chosen to bring them along with me. And because, like I said, they were a big inspiration and reason for me to develop this boldness. And so then when I see how much better my life and the life of people in this group is when you're bold, I'm like, well, I want my kids to have that too. And so, for instance, I bought a single family home as an investment property. My children and I named the business, the LLC, Three Pack Homes, because there are three of us. It's me and them. And like, so we named it They came with me with a real estate agent. I taught them how to shake hands, you know, like all of that kind of stuff. And it matters. And they view it and they're like, do we have a renter? And I was like, yeah, we have a renter now. They're like, oh, that's wonderful news. That's so good. Like they are a part of it. And then we talk about this kind of stuff. And, you know, and I have talks with them too when they don't want me to work. And I'm like, hey, somebody's got to make the money, honey. Like, we are all part of a team where, you know, mom's not always here and you're going to have to step up and tolerate a babysitter and things like that. But then we also enjoy the fruits of our labor and our sacrifices together, and we travel internationally. Like I took them to Costa Rica last summer. We travel, they come with me on a conference at least once a year. We're headed to Halifax, Nova Scotia at the end of June for a couple weeks. Oh no, not Halifax. We start in Halifax for the conference, but we go all over for a couple weeks. And so they are just along for the ride, but not along for the ride. Like they're learning and sponging and, you know, all of that and practicing and talking to their friends in that way too.
Did you envision that this would be you when you were at that moment 2 years ago? Because right now it sounds great, it sounds amazing, you sound badass, which of course you are badass, right? But someone is watching and going, I'm not badass like that. Is that a thing that you are? Or is that a thing that you learn to be and build the skills and all of that into?
I think it was a transformation. And I think that I realized that the way that I show up and my presence affects how people not only receive me, but how they are going to interact with me. And so if I show up as someone who thinks that I'm not deserving of influence, not deserving of like an inspired life, then that's how I'm going to be received and that's how people are going to treat me. And it's not anything against other people. It's just like, I don't know. It's like you get what you give. And so when I put out that type of energy and things, then that's what I get back. And I think certainly every few months, I guess, you know, I still get scared sometimes because when I'm ready to take that next step, it's happening again, you know, it's all right. Because I go through kind of a little bit of a cycle. I haven't completely have not shed that yet. I imagine that it'll come in a year or so. But so I still kind of cycle back into it a little bit. But I know that I've done it a few times. And so each time that I do it, I know that it's gonna be shorter and less uncomfortable than the last.
Okay. So what is one thing that you do when the fear comes in? What helps you that people here can take away practically?
Well, one of them is that I usually talk about it on a coaching call, and you're like, every 4 months, you say the same thing. You have a pattern, and I'm like, oh, right, okay. Because I still somewhere deep down in my mind, I forget that I go through this every four. And so it's very helpful to have someone that you trust and feel comfortable with like kind of call you on your pattern, but not even like it's not an accountability thing, it's just a noticing thing where it's like as soon as you say you're like, oh, I see this is not useful. And so I'm just gonna like ride it out and things are gonna be fine.
So last question for you at this moment. Now looking forward into the future, because we are celebrating your power to choose, women physicians' power to choose, the journey. By the way, just to ask the people that are listening, is this helpful for you? I want to make sure. Type in the chat box while Dr. is coughing and drinking water. All right, see some yeses. Okay, yes, absolutely, heck yes. Okay, fantastic. All right, yes, this is so important, right? Because it is so important to hear the stories, to hear the journey, because one of the worst things you can ever feel is alone. I am the only one. It has never happened to anyone before. I am too far gone. It is too late. I am too burnt out. My finances are an extra layer of like crispy bad. I'm a single mama. I cannot do it by myself. Maybe my spouse used to take care of the finances. I cannot do it by myself. But I want to ask you, if you look into the future, which, I have thoughts about goals and all of that, but to the best of your ability, what is next for you? What do you foresee in this journey of your own power to choose and continuing to lead this out?
How far in?
Whatever you got. We'll take 3 months, we'll take 3 years, we'll take whatever.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna rise in leadership that's in our hospital that is focused around my areas of academic passion and like passion for healthcare. I am really passionate about communication for families with languages other than English, and how when you accommodate for their communication needs, that you actually improve care for everybody. So that is kind of that's my thing. And so I am working relentlessly, but allowing it to happen on making that a mission for our hospital in the middle of Ohio. So like it's one of those things. So that's a part of it. And
non-professionally as well.
yeah, non-professionally. I mean, I think that I'm gonna keep growing the passive income so that I continue to have more freedom. I've done pretty well with strategizing my time freedom as much as I can because I'm a single mom that loves being with my kids. Not that other people don't, but I bring them along for what I can. And so I think that I don't know, I think we'll go to Europe next summer for 2 or 3 weeks. I think maybe we'll have a dream about where we'll go next. And that's our happy spot.
Fantastic. And I do think that owning a home international is in your future.
I do too,
Yeah.
actually. But not like one international, but then a few here too.
Of course. You already have one, many more to go. All right, fantastic. Thanks for sharing that. What about you? So looking into the near future as you continue to take bold, badass, crazy, Disney infused actions into your future, what do you see as you continue to, because I don't believe in the journey ending. I believe in continued evolution and bigger and more us changes as we grow. So I'm curious for you, what does that look like the next 3 months or 3 years or whatever into the future?
Tangible goals or vision. We can say 3-ish years. It's increasing like other forms of incomes, passive income, so I can drop my clinical hours. I'd like to see my patients. I don't think I'm ready to leave clinical medicine. But I don't want to do that much. I'm down to 0.8, but I think 0.8 is too much too. So I think a good 3 days, 2.5 days a week-ish. It's a good sweet point. And then yes, and just having more time for fun.
And I just want to clap about that. The reason why I want to clap about it, I hope everybody noticed the energy she used to say that. Like, we get to choose. You get to choose. You get to choose how much medicine you practice. I love patients. I'm still practicing. I have no plans of retiring from medicine ever because I'm like, what am I retiring from? But the thing is, you get to choose. And I just loved, I hope you guys all saw her energy. because that right there was just like beautiful to witness that it would be nice if this is what I would like, and you can create what you like. Guys, just can everybody just type that in the chat box? I can create what I like. You don't have to be dying to cut back. You don't have to hate your life to make a change. Like, I like to travel. I like to go to Europe for 2 weeks. Your like is valid enough. Your like is enough reason. When we took time off to, I quit my job, took our kids out of school, people are like, "Or you burned out?" I'm like, I did it because I wanted to. Like, your want to is enough reason. It doesn't have to be chunkier than that. So, Lourdes, thank you for, I get to create what I like. I want to,
If I may add like something to that, which is a realization that I had recently. Before when I started this, journey of learning more about money, and then my narrative was, I don't want to keep changing time for money. I just want to be like more free, which that's still true. But I just felt like my goal was just, maybe like even leaving, clinical medicine altogether. But in the meantime, I'm in this job. And in the meantime, I'm like, whatever. And now I realized the other day, like the day that I decide to start my clinical work, I'm doing it from a place of abundance. I'm not doing it because I'm so burnt out I'm leaving. It's like, and I want to leave. But I am not looking at the other things that I am doing, growing my business, other forms of income as like, and this is going to save me. I still want to practice medicine. I just don't want to work that much. I guess I'm not working that much, but a little less. But I don't feel like, and I need this to breathe. I feel like so matter of fact about if tomorrow I decide that I don't want to see patients, I'm just so at ease with that, just from a place of abundance. And I realized that the other end, like, this is so good.
we're just gonna like just stay here for like 30 seconds with you in your abundance. We're just gonna like just soak that up and celebrate this journey with you. Thank you for being an example of what's possible. Thank you for deciding that you were worth it. Thank you for deciding that you get to decide and you get to choose and nobody owns you. Guys, I don't care if you're employed. I don't care if you own your practice. Nobody owns you. The moment you start believing you're owned, you will lose your soul and the core part of what makes you you. And when you lose that, it is a loss, not just for you, it is a loss to the world. A loss to the world. Imagine a world where kids don't get to experience her in that fullness of her. Imagine a world where these patients don't get to experience her in that fullness of her. What a loss that would be. So there is a dichotomy of this is about you and this is about so much more than you, right? They chose to reach out for support. They chose to lean into, these are members of the money school. They chose to reach out for help in all the places that they needed to lean in, but they thought they were doing it for themselves, partly, but they did not even know they were doing it for you. They did not know they were doing it for you. So that today, May 1st, as we're celebrating day one of the power to choose, that you would hear their stories and take even one seed of it. They did not know they were doing it for you. So the decisions you make about your life, the choices you make or not make, you have no idea who you're making it for. You have zero idea who you're making it for. Doctor, go ahead. That got me a little teary.
Yeah, so it's interesting because for us as an institution that gets a lot of money from research, it is a turbulent time. It's also kind of like the sense of, you guys have cried wolf a lot. Like, how convenient. You now have a good excuse. But this is not to be negative. I think everybody's making the best decisions for them. But definitely it's a time of adventure and so much is changing. And everyone was like, oh my gosh, there's so much uncertainty. And I don't buy that there is an uncertainty. It's just I have a different narrative. I have a different story that I'm creating. And, for the longest time, I bought into whatever story they say, which is always the story of lack and the story of not having enough and the story of like, oh, there's not enough money. And, I had a conversation with someone today who's thinking about going into medical school and going to research. And she's like, I understand money is tight. And I said, no, money is not tight. Money is like the water cycle. If there's not enough water in the lake, then it's in the heavens and it's going to rain and it'll come back to the lake, right? It's always flowing. And the question is not is where if the money's tight here, then where is it? Right? It's somewhere. Find it, right? And it's that sense of abundance and just sense of possibility. And I love my journey so far, and there's so much more ahead of me. I want to grow and expand. And so I'm pursuing new opportunities. I'm going to business school, and I met my classmates last week. And oh my gosh, it's so amazing to be among people who are not in medicine. They just think differently. Like their life is so different. Someone was like, what? You don't like veg in front of the TV for hours on end? And I remember thinking, I was like, where am I going to find the time to do that? And I don't even want to, but I'm like, yes, I forget. Normal people spend hours and hours and days watching TV. Oh, great. Anyway, so it's a journey, it's an adventure. And one of the conversations I had today in the you owe money conversation was I want to understand my options for taking a sabbatical right now. Cause they're like, we want to cut you to 70%. I'm like, you know what? Cut me to 50. What is the number? Tell me about it. I'm like, I thought I would take a sabbatical 2 years from now. How about I take it right now? And part of it is just the understanding of if I stay connected, not only do not they not want to pay me well, is they want to make me work hard for little pay. I don't want to do that anymore. I've done that for a long time. I don't want to do that anymore. I'm like, let's just separate my financial freedom from your whatever it is you're doing. And I can work less elsewhere and make more money. I want to do that now. Because I'm not interested. I mean, for the longest time, um, I was doing this thing where I took call for $100 a night. I laugh right now. I don't judge my past self, but now it just is so laughable. It's like, and the opportunity still exists. They're like, oh, it's this opportunity. It's just $100 of call a night, and Saturdays and Sundays, it's $100 too. And that just makes me laugh so hard now. But yes, there's abundance, there's possibility, there is not tightness of money, there's just the flow of money. And it's like, where is it? And so I'm going to a financial conference on this month, and I'm gonna go pitch financial services because they buy companies that are in hematology and they need advice and wisdom about these drugs that are coming to market. I have the expertise, and the question is, how do I get there? Because they're not struggling for money right now. The money's over there. How do I get in all of that, right? And so it's just expanding the possibilities and recognizing that, for the longest time, I've been in this academic space where people laugh when I publish a paper. They're like, you've only published one? Why haven't you published 17? You know? And I mean, I still love to publish papers, but I realize that there's more. There's more to life. And that's really what. So I'm excited. I'm so excited about the future. I'm excited about the possibilities. I realize that many of the challenges I've experienced allow me to be creative. And I'm not afraid of that anymore. What an opportunity to be creative and think outside the box. And if I wasn't in this time of turbulence, I wouldn't even think about the next thing. I would just still be satisfied. I would be comfortable. And so some of the discomfort is me advancing to the next level, and I recognize that. So I'm excited for the future. Yeah, I see abundance, I see transformation, I see new opportunities, see all good things.
Love it. So, so good. All right. Before we call it a night, and the chat box is like, you guys are amazing. I want to say thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being here. So today is day one. Tomorrow we're gonna be here at 5:30 Pacific time again. Tomorrow is when our book is dropping. Okay. Who is going to be buying? I know y'all are going to be getting copies tomorrow morning before I even wake up, but who is going to be getting copies for people in their life? For their residents, for their fellows? Just type into the chat box. For their fellows, for their co-residents, for their doctors, for their baby mama, for their mama's mama, right? Because the key is this. I want us, part of how lack gets us and screws us up is by letting you focus on lack. Lack will screw you up, chew you out, and spit you out by letting you focus on the smallest things possible. Smallest things possible. You are not born to lack. Anytime you see lack, ask yourself, what am I ignoring right now? Because lack does not exist. It's literally, it's our imagination. It doesn't exist, right? And so one of the fastest ways to get out of lack is to focus on somebody else. And so there are times someone here said they felt like they were in a season of contraction. And what I said was, make sure you do the exact opposite of what your instinct is telling you to do. So when I'm saying make sure you get copies for people, it is literally because that is part of abundance. This book, I will be honest with you guys, yes, I wrote it, and tomorrow we're going to talk a lot about it. But part of the recipes that these women are talking about is literally what is in here. So this is not some theory. This is literally the result of me extracting what has worked for so many women physicians. We are not going to wait until we are 65. We're not going to wait until we're peri-dead. We're not going to wait when there's no more memories to be made. We're not. We're not. We're not. The time for freedom is now. The time for freedom, and just type that in the chat box. The time for freedom is now. It is not far, far away. And some of you guys are like, but I need $10 billion. That may be a story. That is the story you've been told so you can focus on lack. I am not done with my journey in abundance because I will never be done. You will never be done. The time for freedom is now. You don't get free. You don't live your life, have money at some point, get your retirement, and then be free. No, now is the time. The only way we're going to change medicine and save our lives and other lives is by leaning into it now. So before we end, guys, just one tip that you have for someone, right? You've shared so much goodness, but if there's one more word you want to share with someone before we call it an evening, let us know. Doctor, you have the mic, and then we'll go the opposite way. Just one.
Everything is possible. Your dream is possible. It doesn't matter what people have said. It is possible. Don't believe the lie. Pursue your dream.
Are you still pissed by how long they lied to you for? I'm just curious. No, I'm serious because I get pissed.
I've forgiven them. I have. I mean, it's been my learning journey. I'm the person I am today. I wish I had started this journey a longer time ago, but here I am. And, the best time to plant the tree was 20 years ago. And then the second best time is today. So I'm glad I'm here. Yeah.
I can't forgive them and be pissed at the same time. Talking about, because I like both. Those suckers, right? Next verse. Those suckers, how dare they underpay you? $100 a night? What the heck? I'll be mad for you because I'm your coach. Tell me their address. I'll find their car. All right. Sorry, Dr.
Latifat, she already says she forgive them. So
All right.
I just embrace where she is right now.
All right. Okay. All right. I won't find their house. Go ahead, Dr. Last tip.
The short thing is you always have a choice. We always have a choice. Feeling stuck is a choice, but right? There's always a choice. It's the biggest lie is that where you at, it's The only thing you have in front of you, and there's no choice. You always have a choice. Even waking up to go to work, you can stay. You don't have to go to work. You get to go to work. So we always have a choice.
How come I gotta pause every time we talk? We just let it marinate. We always have a choice. Doctor, last word.
Yeah. I think this came from a call recently that there are going to be people that fit into a number 1, and there are people that are going to fit into a number 2. And you're going to look around you, and you're going to see a lot of people that are doing the number 1, and it seems to work so well for them. And you're like, why? Like, this does not work for me. Like, I'm a number 2, but number 2, you're going to make your own path, and people are going to be like, you're doing what? You're gonna what? And you just, I think that when you can sink into that space and do your own path and break the mold and break shit up, that's where the magic is. And some people are gonna cheer you along the way, but not until you're about 7/8 of the way there. But you have to cheer yourself the rest of the way and find the other number 2s that are gonna be doing their own path too, that inspires you.
Do you remember what number 1 for those that are like, what is she talking about? I know we talked about this, I think it was last week in the money school, but do you remember what number 1? I just want to give them a quick, what's a number 1? What's a number 2? Because they're like, what are you talking about?
Number 1, I think I would describe it as like with finances, someone who saves. Like, I'm gonna save and I'm gonna protect a little bit, and I'm gonna follow like the pre-made paths. And we need to get to number 1 so that we can make the bold choices into number 2. And number 2 is where you start to be real brave, and you start to say, like, you know what? Like, take me down to 70%. How about 50? Let's do that. Because I could do this somewhere else. Like, research, not your thing. Like, immigrant health, like, not gonna fund that. Be like, well, all right. Like, what's next? Maybe somebody else will fund it. Maybe like there's another way. And you just choose the path that feels abundant, regardless of what others might say, because it doesn't matter as much anymore.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to you 3. Before we leave tonight, guys, tell one thing that you're taking out from this conversation. One thing, because we are extractors. One thing that you are taking with you. And for our panelists, if you want to type in the chat box as well, what is one thing? And I want to make sure everyone types at least one thing that you're taking away from this learning experience together. The time for freedom is now. Positive energy is contagious from all of you. I get to choose. Anything and everything is possible. We're not born to lack. No, it doesn't exist. Like, I look at my birth certificate, I don't see L like lack on my name. So that's not a thing that exists for me. Absolutely. Choose the path that feels abundant. You always have a choice. Money is in the water cycle. Absolutely. I'm taking my children along with me. Yes, we have choices. We have choices. No more fear. There's always options. Money is not tied. It flows. We're worthy of abundance. Choose from abundance. I get to choose. Keep going. Never give up. Don't listen to the lies. There's abundance. Don't listen to the lies, even if it's coming from yourself. Don't listen. Wherever it's coming from, even if it's from yourself, there's abundance. Always believe you have options. No one owns you. No, no one does. There's always a choice. Abundance is like the rain cycle. Wait for it. Keep your calm and find your 2. Yes, yes. Lack does not exist. We inspire each other with our stories. Taking my kids, I like to spend time with them. The second best time is today. I get to choose. I want to say thank you so very much to our, just, say thank you, emojis, whatever you got, to our panelists for taking the time to be here. These are humans. These are single, double mamas that are doing amazing things in the world. And I'm really, really excited for us to get our book tomorrow, Power to Choose. We will email the link tomorrow morning. So check your email. It will be in the Facebook group as well, so that you can buy. You can buy for other people. There's no audiobook. I'm not sure if I'm going to do an audiobook yet. The first one I did with Downward Broke was so hard.
it was like, imagine reading a sentence 4 times because the first one, they're like, you did not say the R well. I'm like, y'all need to know ESL. Y'all need to get it. But anyways, I'm not sure yet if there's going to be an audiobook for this one, but it is going to be so worth reading. It is 100 and something pages. It will change you. It's changed this woman. It will change you. Absolutely. We'll make sure if you guys, is anybody here that's not in the Facebook group? I want to make sure if you're not in the Facebook group, let me know. Let me get the link and put it in here so that you don't miss the links tomorrow for the lounge. Let me make sure. And thank you everybody for being here. Thank you for supporting our badass women physicians. Thank you for supporting so many people. There is, thanks, Jimena. So the link to the Facebook group is there so that I'll make sure the link to Dawn with Brooke will be there tomorrow, as well as the Power to Choose. You are so worth it. And so much goodness happens in the world when you are free. It starts with you. No one is coming to save us. I wish they would. I wish they would. But thank God they're not, because now we get to live in our badassery. And so thank you, everybody. I'll see you guys tomorrow. And tomorrow's my birthday. We're going to celebrate together with an interview here too. So I'm excited. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Love you guys. God bless. Bye-bye.